welcome to this Microsoft ODSC presentation. I will be discussing Form Recognizer and the new features the team has been working on that are now available in the GA release of Form Recognizer 3.0. So that being said, please allow me to introduce myself. My name is Bema Bonsu. I'm a product manager on the Form Recognizer team, which sits underneath Cognitive Services. And I'm very excited to show you what the team has been working on and what is now available to Microsoft customers. So first, let's start with the agenda for today. I'm going to start with a brief history of Form Recognizer and the motivation behind it. Then I'm going to go and get into the exciting stuff, the new features that have come to Form Recognizer 3.0. And last but definitely not least, we're going to get hands-on and look at some features with some live demos. So as I mentioned, I want to take a quick second to look at exactly what Form Recognizer is, the motivation behind its creation, and why I think it can be an amazing tool for you and your organizations. So at Microsoft, our mission is to empower every person in every organization on the planet to achieve more. And back in 2019, we were brainstorming ways in which we could leverage AI and machine learning to help businesses, both large and small, in achieving this goal. One challenge that the team identified where we felt that we could have substantial impact for customers was document processing and automation. We identified many unique challenges associated with intelligent document processing and that we wanted to address. So let's take a look at what some of these challenges are. So firstly, despite living in an increasingly digital world, documents are still everywhere. And this means both digital and physical. And they're still a very major communication tool between individuals and organizations. And they're not going to be going anywhere anytime soon. And now, depending on the type of business or organization, an organization can receive a large volume of documents with high variability in design, content, and quality. So this further complicates the extraction and understanding of this data from documents. Also, right now, manual data entry is costly and prone to errors, and it's honestly just downright slow. It's a very inefficient process. At the time Form Recognizer was created, there was a real shortage of intelligent data extraction tools. OCR technology has existed for a really long time, but it's been limited to pure extraction. And there was a lack of intelligent understanding on top of this extraction, which greatly reduced the utility of these tools. And now the last and maybe most important challenge in this space is finding a way to solve all of these issues while staying compliant to the many different security requirements across different industries, regions, and organizations. And so this is Form Recognizer. It is the solution to all of these challenges. When we built this product, we built it from the ground up with all of these challenges in mind to empower our customers to achieve more. So with Form Recognizer, you can do so much. You can reduce your COGS, you can streamline processes, automate repetitive time-intensive tasks, and so much more. So now that you have a better understanding of Form Recognizer, let's take a look at the suite of products that we offer. So these can be separated into three main buckets. The first bucket is the general use services, the second are the pre-builts, and the third are the custom models. So the general use services include Read, Layout, and the new general document model. And these are all pre-trained models and require no training or data from customers. With Read, you can extract text both handwritten and printed from images and documents. With Layout, you can extract additional structures such as tables. And with General Document, you can extract key value pairs and entities such as dates and names from documents. The pre-built models are pre-trained models just like the general use services, and these models are made by us for specific document types such as invoices, receipts, and business cards. As the name suggests, these models are pre-built and require no additional training or data from you. It's just plug and play. Lastly, we have the custom models. These models are for customers that need a more personalized solution for their document processing needs, or find that the pre-built models we offer do not meet all of their needs. We'll go over the difference between these two models a little bit later, but generally, you can use the custom template model to extract data from structured documents, while the custom neural model can be used to extract data from both structured and unstructured documents. So how to use Form Recognizer? Well, as previously mentioned, our goals with this product are to empower all of our customers to have a great solution for document understanding and automation. So we were very intentional with how we made this product available to customers. We wanted to ensure that regardless of your level of technical ability, you would be able to use the product whether you are a dev lead or a business operations manager. So for devs, we have three main ways to engage with the product. All of these methods require an Azure subscription. The first is the new Form Recognizer Studio. I'll be going over this a little bit later, but the Form Recognizer Studio is a quick and easy way to try out new services and quickly test documents to evaluate accuracy. The second is our Form Recognizer Logic App Connectors. This was only available for version 2.1, but recently we've just upgraded it, so now it's compatible with version 3.0, so there are no limitations when using this method now. Using Logic apps, customers can make Form Recognizer solutions without writing a single line of code. And then, of course, the last method is our API and SDKs, which will allow you guys to integrate Form Recognizer with any application across platforms. Now, for business users, we have a pair of first-party vendors that use Form Recognizer underneath the hood to provide no-code solutions with beautiful UIs that make it extremely simple to create a solution and integrate with other Microsoft products such as Outlook and Excel. AI Builder is a great solution for customers with a Dynamics 365 subscription, while Syntax is a great solution for people with a SharePoint subscription. All right. So now you have ample background on the ways to use the service. Let's get into the interesting part and let's look at what the team has been working on and what is now available with Form Recognizer GA 3.0. Okay, so first we're going to look at the new languages coming to Form Recognizer. Then we're going to take a look at the new studio. Afterwards, we will check out the new Read API and the brand new paragraph identification and layout. After that, I'll demo the new general document model, along with some of the new features coming to the pre-built models, including the three all-new models, the W-2 model, the health insurance card model, and the contracts pre-built. Last but certainly not least, we will look at the new powerful Neuro model. So let's start with languages. Right now, Read, Layout, and Custom Template support 299 languages. We are currently expanding language support to make our product more useful to customers. Not all 299 languages are pictured here. We recently expanded to 134 more that are not on this screen. These languages include Greek, Latvian, Serbian, Thai, Ukrainian, and Vietnamese, along with several Cyrillic and Latin languages. For the full list of supported languages, you can reference our official documentation. So in addition to the languages I just showed, in Form Recognizer 3.0, we also now support the following languages. For Read, Layout, and Custom Template, we now support the Arabic and Hindi language families, as well as handwritten support for Japanese and Korean. And now for pre-built Invoice, it also supports, it used to only support English, but now we also support Spanish, Portuguese, German, Italian, Dutch, and French. And I will demo this later on in the presentation. All right, so let's start getting into the demos. So the first thing I want to demo is the Form Recognizer Studio. So this became GA with all of the rest of the features. And as previously mentioned, the Studio is available to anyone with an Azure subscription. And it's a great place to both test out the service, as well as to familiarize yourself with what Form Recognizer is capable of. So the Studio is particularly useful for visualizing outputs. And directly from the Studio, you can try pre-trained models or build custom models and much more. So I'm going to briefly hop out of this presentation. Whoops. And we are going to head to the Studio. Cool. So this is the Form Recognizer Studio. And this is how I'm going to demo the rest of the features as we move through this presentation. Let me move this. Okay. And so yeah, I won't go too deep into the Studio right now, but there are a few things that I would like to point out. So the first time you log into the Studio, you will be prompted to log in with your Azure credentials. I'm obviously already logged in. And then you can edit your account information in the top right, as well as switch account details and change directories. You can also access documentation directly from the Studio by clicking this question mark button. And then that'll also allow you to create a support request if needed. And then we also have a survey that you can access for feedback by clicking the smiley face, and that is much appreciated as it helps us to continually improve the studio experience. Um, so yeah, looking past the top of the studio, you'll see that the services are laid out into the 3 buckets that we discussed earlier. So at the top, you have your 3 general use services: read, layout, and general document. Next, you have the pre-builts. And so here are all the pre-builts: invoices, receipts, business cards, identity documents, W-2s, contracts, health insurance cards, and vaccination cards. And then at the very bottom, we have the custom models. So if we briefly select the custom models, you'll see that we have the 2 custom models that I mentioned earlier. We will go into more detail about this later on. Okay, and then if we go past all of these wonderful models and go to the bottom, you will see that we have some helpful links to documentation, quick starts, and other useful information that should help you get up and running very quickly. Okay, so let's head back to the presentation briefly, and we will be back in the studio in a second. Okay, cool. So let's take a look at the new Read model. So if you're familiar with Microsoft Computer Vision Read, this is basically the same service with some nice improvements. So this is the most entry-level bare bones service that we offer. All of the other services are built on top of this one, and this service offers word, text line, and paragraph detection. It is also capable of detecting the language that a document is in and returns this as a parameter. Right now, Microsoft Office and HTML support is in preview and is available through the studio. So once again, let's hop over to the studio and I can show you Read. Okay, so this is the page for Read. And what you will notice as we go through these demos is that many of the pages for these services look very similar. And I want to call out some of the things that you will find on this page. So first of all, each page comes with some preloaded samples that you'll see on the side, but you can also click the browse for a file button or drag in your own documents if you want to test out one of your own documents. So for the sake of time, I've already run this document. Just because it takes a couple seconds, but I just wanted to keep this quick to make sure we get through all the content. But if you were to do this yourself, you would click this blue Analyze button. And then you'll notice here as well, we have an API version where you can select the API version that you want to use. For all of these demos, we will be using GA just because that is what we will be discussing. But yeah, let's look at this document. So as you can see, let me zoom out just a little bit. All the text from this document is extracted very nicely. And if you look to the right panel, you'll see that that same text is available here. You may also notice that there are 2 additional tabs, result and code. So if we look at the result tab, you will see this is the JSON that is generated from this document. And you will have options to both download or copy this JSON in the case that you want to dive a little bit deeper into it, or parse it. And then on the last tab, we have pseudocode that allows you to copy and paste this code into a DAW of your choice. It allows you to get up and running with the service very quickly. These pseudocode snippets are generally available in Python, JavaScript, and C#. So yeah, these features are available within all of our models, not just Read. And we hope that these resources will help you get up and running very quickly. So let's head back to the presentation for 1 second. And let's talk about layout. So layout is a service that was available before GA, but we've had some significant improvements to layout. So the layout service now has enhanced structure for better extraction quality, but layout is also now able to identify paragraphs and the differences between different kinds of text. So layout can discern the difference between titles, section headings, footnotes, page headers, page footers, and page numbers. So this is a real step up in intelligence from the Read services. So let's head back to the studio and take a look at layout. Okay, so just as I mentioned with the read demo, I've already pre-run these pages for the sake of time. And as you'll notice, this Layout Studio page is very similar to the read page, with some noticeable exceptions. So if you look over to the right panel, you'll notice that there are 3 sub tabs, text, tables, and selection marks. And these are here because layout is able to provide a deeper level of analysis for those who need it. So looking at the first sample, let me zoom out a little bit again. You will see, again, all of the text is captured. But if we look at the title here, you will see that the role is tagged as title. And you will see the same thing here off to the side. So this is very intelligent, and it's able to discern the differences between different kinds of text. And this first sample is great for seeing that. But in order to see how layout works for tables and selection marks, let's head to the last sample that we have here. So once again, you will notice that layout is able to grab the title here without issue. And if we scroll down, you'll actually see that layout is also able to grab the page number here. But now let's look at those extra tabs that I mentioned before. So if I select the tables tab, you will see that this table is selected. In this case, there's only one table in this document, but it is selected. And if I click this little table icon here, you'll actually see that we get an even easier to read extraction of what that table looks like. Yeah, and then it's also available here on the side. Now let's select selection marks, and you'll see the same thing. You'll see very easy to read UI on this right tab. That'll show you which selection marks are selected and not. And then even easier, an overlay that shows you which selection marks have been selected. So yeah, that is layout. And as you can see, the Studio UI makes it extremely easy to visualize the output of these documents. So let's head back to the presentation, and we will come back shortly. Okay, cool. So the next thing that we're going to be going over is general document. And this service is useful when you want to extract key value pairs from documents. From preview to GA, general document has had some great general AI quality improvements. And it is also now capable of recognizing checkboxes, which it was not able to do before. So let's hop back into the studio to check out general document. All right. Cool. So this should be a familiar view by now. So here we have the results of general doc being run on a 10-Q form. So as you can see, we have selection marks being extracted along with other key value pairs, such as the state of incorporation, which in this example is Washington. You'll also notice that general document will extract all the text that is in the document as well. In this case, it is just highlighting the key value pairs. So now if we look at the second example, you'll see an example of something that is more of a structured document, traditional structured document type. And as you can see, all these key value pairs are extracted very nicely and are available on this side as well. It doesn't take much to see how this can be a very powerful general use tool especially if you're processing a lot of different document types. So yeah, let's head back to the presentation and talk about the next feature, which is W-2s. Okay, so as previously mentioned, there are 3 new pre-built models, W-2s, health insurance cards, and contracts. For the sake of time, we're only going to look at 2 of these. The first one we're going to look at is W-2s. And as with all pre-builts, this model requires no training data from you. It's just plug and play. So this model supports both standard and customized W-2s back to 2018, and it also supports both single and multi-page forms. Oops. So let's go and look at this W-2 model. Oops. Right here. Okay, cool. So this is an extraction of a W-2. And as you can see, the extraction is quite nice. Let me zoom out a little bit. There we go. So one of the things that I want to call out in particular is this employee array. So if I select this, you'll notice that all of the employee information is grouped together in an array, which makes it easier to handle any type of post-processing that you may need. And yes, it's a very simple product. It just works. And as previously mentioned, it also works on multiple on pages with multiple W2s in it. So yeah, that is the W2 model, and we're excited to see how that is useful to customers. So back to the presentation. And pre-built invoices. So the invoice pre-built used to only support English, as I previously mentioned, and now we've expanded support to Spanish, German, Italian, French, Portuguese, and Dutch, with many more languages planned in the future. Language expansion has been one of the biggest asks from customers for the invoice pre-built, so we're excited to offer these new languages in the future. It's a constant process, but yes, this is a product that we've seen a lot of demand for and a lot of usage for. So let's go ahead and check out how this works in the studio. Okay, so here we have an invoice. Let me see if I can, whoops, zoom out just a bit. And let's go ahead and look at this German sample. So here you'll see that the information in the invoice is extracted nicely. One thing that you will notice is that in some European countries, they use commas as a delimiter instead of periods as we do in the States. And you can see that Form Recognizer handles this with no issue. The second thing that I want to point out is the date format. So obviously the European date format and the United States date format is different. And Form Recognizer is able to recognize that and extract the value correctly according to the European date format. So now, if you are familiar with the studio and you are familiar with the invoice model, you will notice that there is a extra tab that was not here before, and that is this key value pairs tab. And you may have also noticed that there are some values on this document which were not recognized by the pre-built invoice model, such as the email, the telephone number, and the fax number. This is because these fields are not part of our predefined fields. However, if for whatever reason you do need these fields or any other additional field that is a key value pair that are not currently covered by the pre-built model, you can still get them. And so that is the purpose of the key value pairs tab. And so if I switch over to the key, let me switch over to this document. This will demonstrate this a bit clearer. If I switch over to this document, again, you will notice that there are some values that are not extracted, such as salesperson, PO number, requisitioner, and then all those other fields that we mentioned before. If I switch over to this key value pairs tab, you will notice that all of these values are now extracted. So the motivation behind this is to allow customers to still extract any fields that we do not currently support. And yes, you will notice that every single key value pair is extracted, including subtotals, amount due, all of that. There's one thing that I do want to call out about this feature is that the keys and the values will be extracted exactly as they show up in the document. Now, you may be wondering why this is important. Well, this is because it may be the case that you have a second document that instead of the key being telephone, it is telephone number. This feature will always extract the key as telephone, or exactly as it shows up in the document. So for this one, it'll say telephone. For the other document, it'll say telephone number. So that will require some post-processing on your end if you want to normalize both of those keys to the same key. This is not the case for the pre-built fields. These pre-built fields will always be normalized for you. So this only applies for the additional key value pairs that you want to add. We're currently looking into ways with how we can normalize these fields for you using machine learning. But this is a feature that is not available right now. So as it stands now, you will have to do some post-processing if you do need any of these additional key value pairs that are not extracted by the pre-built model. All right, cool. So let's head back to the studio briefly, to the presentation briefly and continue. Okay, cool. So the next pre-built that I want to demo is the contracts pre-built. So a couple of things about this. This works exactly like all of the other pre-builts. It's capable of extracting relevant key value pairs that are important to contracts. But this is currently in preview. So if you go to the studio and you click on the contracts pre-built, you'll be redirected to a form where you just have to fill out a quick form. It will send it to us, and then we can approve you for access to play with this service and see how it works on your data. So let's go to the studio and check this out. So let me zoom out. Okay, cool. So yeah, this is the contract pre-built. And there's a couple of callouts here. Again, it works very similar to all of our other pre-builts. And just like the W2 form, it groups the parties into groups where all the data is collected together to make it very easy for post-processing needs. We'd love for you to try this out and provide feedback so that we can continue to improve, and hopefully this service will be very useful to you. Okay, let's go back to presentation. And let's look at the last demo for today. And this is for the custom neural model. So this model belongs to the custom models bucket of services. So this is great if you need to process a form type that is not covered by any of our pre-builts, and the information from the general use services is not enough. So you want additional information. As with the custom template model, for the neural model, you will need to provide a few sample documents and label them for training. However, with the neural model, you can extract information from structured, semi-structured, and unstructured documents. It's a really amazing and powerful tool. So unlike the custom template model, the neural model is able to abstract to form structures it has not been trained on before. So this means you can use it to extract information from documents of the same type, but with different structures. For example, if you think of a bank statement, with the custom template model, you could build a model to extract information from bank statements, but they would all have to follow a very similar general structure. With the neural model, the bank statements do not have to follow the same structure and can be more widely varied. So before we hop into the actual demo for this, I want to go over the differences a little bit deeper between the custom models. So the main difference between the two models, as I mentioned, is that the custom template model only works on structured forms, while the neural model works on both structured and unstructured forms. So the neural model also has a longer training time, and this is due to the fact that it is trained on GPUs. But as a general rule, we suggest that you always use the custom neural model to get the absolute highest extraction quality. The only reason you should use the custom template model is if you need signature detection. Your document is not in English because the custom neural model is currently English only, or because the neural model is not available in your region right now. So let's hop into the studio for our last demo and look at the custom neural model. Okay, cool. So the labeling process for the custom neural model is identical to that of the custom template model. So if you are, whoops, let me deselect that. If you are familiar with that, you should feel right at home with this labeling method. But just in case there is anybody that is unfamiliar, for custom models, you need a few documents. We recommend 5. And what you're going to need to do is to create a new labeling project. But this process takes a bit of time. So for the sake of this demo, I've already labeled these 5 documents that you see here on the left. And these labels are also, the actual labels are here on the right pane. So the process is very simple though. So let's say you wanted to create a new label. All you would have to do is click this plus button and create a new field. So let's say you wanted to call it test 3. What you would do then is select the text that you want to correspond to that, and you would find that tag and then just select it, and then it's tagged. So it's a very simple process, and you only need to do this for the fields that you are interested in. And the process is exactly the same for when you're doing selection marks and tables. A quick note about tables, you will get the same extraction of tables automatically that you get with layout. But the reason why we allow you to tag additional tables is because sometimes there are things that act as tables but may not resemble tables, such as multiple lines on a resume. So we allow you to tag these things as tables as well if you want to extract them as such. So the labeling of 5 documents shouldn't take more than 15 minutes. So after you're done labeling these documents, what you're going to want to do next is click the train button. But as I mentioned, we've already pre-trained this because the training process normally takes anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour. So I've already pre-trained this so we don't have to sit here and wait for that to train. And this, once again, is due to the fact that the neural model is trained on GPUs. So because this is already pre-trained, let's go ahead and go to this section, which is the test section. And so from the test section, you can upload documents and then test your new model. I've actually already added and analyzed this document, which is a document which was not in the test set. So this is a new document that was not labeled. And as you can see, the document is able to extract values from this document. So there are a couple of things that I want to point out. First thing is this, where is party one address. You may notice that the bounding box for this seems rather large. The only reason for this is because the way that the bounding boxes are drawn are based off of minimum and maximum Y values. And this spans 2 lines. So that's why this looks like it's capturing more than it actually is. But if you look at the actual content, you will see that it is just capturing the party one's address and none of the additional text. The next thing that I want to point out is this labeled field right here, which is the force majeure clause. And if we select that, it will take us to the page that this appears on. And this is where the custom neural model really shines. So this is a paragraph that shows up in these types of documents. And the custom neural model is able to recognize where this paragraph is and extract that. So as you can see, this is extremely powerful. And if you were to do something like this manually, you can imagine it would be extremely time consuming because these documents aren't small. For example, this document is 23 pages long. So for somebody to go through this document page by page and find all of these values would take an extremely long time. But once you have your model trained, it only takes a couple of seconds and you can get this information instantly. And after the model is built, there's very little human intervention or supervision needed, and it's a huge time saver. So that is the custom neural model. And now let's head back to this presentation. Sorry. And that is the last demo. So that is from Recognizer 3.0. Thank you for attending and listening. And now I'll be happy to take any questions that you may have about the service.